A few years ago, the infotainment systems found in passenger vehicles were pretty pitiful. It's why people were happy to start using Android Auto and CarPlay. The alternative was underpowered in-dash confusion. Over the years, that's changed. And at the forefront of that change is Mercedes with its impressive voice-activated MBUX system. It's smart, quick, easy to use, and looks great. The best part? It's in the stellar new A-Class. The new entry-level sedan from Mercedes starts at $32,500, which is a steal for a Mercedes, but you're not getting some sort of stripped-down luxury vehicle. Along with MBUX, which is being introduced on this vehicle, you're getting all the hallmarks of a German luxury sedan, just, well, smaller. Before we get into all the fancy driving bits, we need to delve into MBUX. This is Mercedes' brand new infotainment system, and it's being added to all the automakers' brand new cars. But the first car that got it was the A-Class. Now, Mercedes probably realized that folks that would enjoy this technology probably skewed younger and don't have the kind of cash that you need to buy an S-Class. That tech-savvy audience probably already has used or owns a smart speaker. So the natural progression of having one in the car would be fine with them, and they wouldn't be surprised if it did something like this. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
It's too hot in here.
I'm setting the temperature to 69 degrees.
Nice. But it's more than just about adjusting the temperature. Of all the voice-activated systems in cars I've used, this one has been the best at understanding what I'm saying. And it'll interact with you in sort of a human way. For example, hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Can I wear shorts tomorrow?
There will be a high of 72 degrees in the current location tomorrow.
Which for San Francisco means yes. Now, in addition to these sort of parlor tricks, it also does navigation, media, and a whole host of other things with your voice. MBUX also has 3 additional input methods. Now, there are the track pads. There's one here in the center console and a tiny little one here in the steering wheel, and also a touch screen, which at this point is in a majority of cars. During my driving experience, most of the time I use the track pads. These work great. It keeps your eye on the road. You don't have to do too much. But when I did have to use the touchscreen, it was nice that it was there. And usually those involve times when I'm using Android Auto or Apple's CarPlay, which are both supported and are supported standard, so they're not going to charge you extra like BMW does. As for the layout of MBUX, Mercedes went with a less is more approach, with large icons that are easy to see on this crisp 10.25-inch display. Some of the more useful features of a top-line item are in little circles right below the main icon. Plus, you can swipe down for your favorites or one of these fancy themes to change the interior lighting. All of this happens quickly thanks to a quick GPU from NVIDIA. No matter what I did, I encountered very little latency from the system. Yet with all these cool new tech features, probably my favorite is the in-car cool AR feature. Now, that's a sentence I never expected to say. In-car, AR, and of course the word cool. But it actually is really helpful. The way it works is once you have something in navigation, when you're going along your route, as you get close to a corner or an intersection or an interchange, the infotainment display will pop up the front camera, and on that it will show you the road that's coming up in a little floaty sign, and it'll have little arrows to tell you which way to go. Now, it's probably a bit overkill for most situations, but when you're in a town or a region where you're unclear where you're going, or you encounter an intersection that is just insane with multiple paths, it's actually pretty helpful. When you are on that road trip to parts unknown, the A220 is a delightful companion. Sure, it's the cheapest Mercedes you can buy right now. The GLA starts at about $1,500 more, but it doesn't feel cheap. In fact, it's one of my favorite Mercedes to drive. The turbocharged 2-liter inline-4 engine with its 188 horsepower and 221 foot-pounds of torque never feels underpowered. It should, but somehow it doesn't. In town, on the highway, even in the mountains, it delivers just enough power to keep you happy. The all-wheel drive 4MATIC system version of the A220, starting at $34,500, probably helps by delivering to all the wheels when you slam on the accelerator. The suspension is pleasant in comfort mode, and it's just crisp enough for most drivers in sport mode. Now, I did encounter a little bit more body roll than I anticipated around switchbacks and tight corners, but most drivers won't really encounter that situation. And if you are someone who really wants a performance version of this car, you're in luck, because Mercedes just unveiled the AMG version of this car. The real AMG version of this car, so you can throw your money at that. Mercedes dropped off a car with the $2,600 AMG package. Now, that is different from the AMG model of this car. I know it's confusing, but bear with me. But what that means is, even if you don't get these fancy two-tone seats, the car still exudes a sort of luxury with a hint of sportiness. The seats are comfortable while firm, and if you're really looking for something that has a lot more plushness, then you're going to have to step up to a C-Class. The back seat should be fine for long drives, unless you're behind a tall person, and then you're doomed. Headroom isn't really an issue unless, again, you're a tall person like myself at 6'3", and you decide to put your head back, and then your head kind of rubs against, and then you're sort of creating static electricity. In the trunk, it's actually pretty roomy. You can put 4 large suitcases, which is great for long trips. The interior design follows with the rest of the Mercedes lineup, with airplane propeller vents that I really like, and displays that seem like tablets that have been shoved into the dash. The dash cluster is an impressive affair, with all you'd ever need available for your drive, and it's easy to navigate via this tiny touchpad. A fun little detail are these accent lights. You can change them to almost anything. I like to call this setup the Peppermill Restaurant in Las Vegas. Classy. On the outside, I think this is the best looking Mercedes-Benz out there. There's something about the automaker's design language shrunk down to a smaller sedan. In fact, my biggest complaint about this car is that they're not bringing the hatchback model, which actually looks better than this, to the United States. I feel like someone should just call up Mercedes and complain about that. Even without the hot hatch in the US, Mercedes has been able to accomplish quite a lot in a reasonably priced package. It's a classy car with some fun bits, it's a solid performer on the street, and it has probably the best infotainment system on the market. That's all in a luxury car that's under $40,000. Now, you can talk about the S-Class and the C-Class and the E-Class all being better cars, but for my money, all the creativity over at Mercedes is here right now. For more automotive coverage, including the upcoming Mercedes-Benz EQC, their very first electric car that's also an SUV, subscribe to Engadget, and thanks for watching.